Good day, everyone, and you're welcome to this segment called Let's Talk Real Estate. My name is Tunde Foster. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm going to be doing justice to this section with a lot of important people with me here today. I know if you have been a Christian long enough, you know that real estate is an important part of being a Christian. Even God told the children of Israel that they were going to take the promised land. So, to move on in this segment today, I'm going to allow our guests to introduce themselves. You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
So can we meet you, Pastor Taffy?
I'm Taffy Adelanwa. I'm a home owner and I'm also an investment manager.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Next, can we meet you, ma'am?
Okay, I'm Bolanle Ogidon. Okay, I run a real estate company. I'm also an investment analyst, and I do justice with the first-time home owners to be able to help them to own their homes.
All right, so next to you, sir.
I am Iromini Abiodun. I'm a builder and an architect at the same time, and also a property development consultant. So I'm in the business of building construction. I run a building construction company, and at the same time, we consult for property development and we raise value for properties. We determine value and we advise on property for values for developments when we're consulted.
Wow, fantastic. I see we have wide array of expertise in the house today to help us do justice to our conversations. So let me start with you, Pastor Bolanle. Real estate. Everybody's interested in real estate. You know, it's like they've been saying the real estate is the oldest business, if I could say anything like that. How do you think anyone can start investing in real estate? What are the options there?
Okay. Thank you so much for this great question. Real estate is really one of the most important parts of a human being, okay? Because it gives you the opportunity to be able to invest into the future, and at the same time, it gives you opportunity to be able to own your own home. So I'm going to talk about first-time home owners, how you can actually own your home. One of the first questions I ask people that want to own properties is that they need to ask themselves the question, where am I financially? What exactly is my income? What part of my income can I begin to set aside to be able to own my home? For a lot of people wait until when they are 40 or 45 years of age before they begin to start. But I advise people, as soon as you're 20, you are 18 years old, you can actually begin to think properties. And the very first thing to do is to have the saving culture. When you begin to have saving culture, it enlarges your mind to be able to see what are the options and the opportunities available for you to own your own home. If I may bring in one thing or the other, a lot of people look at Banana Island, Ikoyi, and Lekki Phase 1, and they say that is where they want to start from. But you have to ask yourself this question: do I have the capacity right now to be able to own such? If not, where can I start from? Do you understand? That's basically my kind of advice for people that want to begin to come into real estate. You have to come into yourself first, change your mindset from looking so high up, but start from where you are, but think big.
Thank you very much for that, and I like that phrase, start from where you are. So I'm going to put the next question to you, Pastor Taffy. As a homeowner and a real estate investor, how can people start from where they are right now, where real estate investing is concerned?
All right. Thank you very much. I think there's a lot of awareness that comes to play here in terms of being on top of your finances and your financial situation, understanding what your cash flows are like. You know, so when she said start from where you are, that place will vary from person to person. So I will just try to give you examples of people around me that have owned real estate and how they have been able to come into their own. So I have a group of people in my office, for instance, that, you know, they save, you know. So she had mentioned the importance of saving, and that's really crucial, you know. So, but I think before the saving is the inner space. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I think it begins on the inside, because I can't tell the story of those guys without the understanding that I know what they have been processing inside of them in terms of what they see about real estate and how they want to, take good positions in the real estate market. So I know that they, started saving and then got involved with developers. So, hey, so the money they have is not like is this so much money they are putting together. But at that time, maybe 2-3 years ago, or even 4, you could get a 2-bedroom flat. Of course, it wasn't like a permanent ownership, but you could get it for as long as 15 or 18 years, as the owner of that small portion of maybe a 3-floor apartment. And then you would pay maybe 3 million, between 3 million, 4 million, you could get 2-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartments. And for me, I think what that model, my own lesson from that, their model, is the fact that it's something that can actually allow you to build at your own pace. Of course, you're able to start small. So now you are not looking for money for the land or looking for the money for, building a big building. So with a 3 million, a 4 million, somebody says you have these 2 or 3-bedroom apartments, and then you could even decide that let me have 2-bedroom apartments. And those buildings, they try to do them in like or prime areas are already open, so they have high rental values. So even with that 3 million at that time, rents could be as high as 700, 800, or even 900,000 in the areas that developers, choose to build the properties. So I think what I see from there is the fact that, so if I want to own if I really have a desire to have a good duplex, a big house, I could then decide then, well, I have this for 18 years. Then I can trust God and gradually build or save till I get my dream property. So it's one way you can enter in, at, that is very affordable and at a very reasonable level. I've seen some other people, their parents have told them you need to buy property. So they just buy at a place where the land is so cheap. And then they are able to come up with something on top of it. Of course, some of them come with their own issues, like maybe they are far from everywhere else and maybe stress and so on. But hey, they have something somewhere that ultimately would appreciate in value. When we started, we bought land, we bought this, we bought that. But I think the things that came to us by favor. But maybe before I discuss the bid, let me just say, so some other people also have saved substantially, over time, so they are able to approach people, banks, mortgage institutions to help them finance the rest. Again, it's a matter of awareness. If I'm getting into this, what would the funding be like if I'm going to repay? So you would know where you're at, to be able to do that. But when it comes to bank loans, they are really not the best way of financing properties. The rent is the interest rates are so high. So in our own case, the properties we've gotten by favor. I think Pastor Bola and I were talking, the first property we attempted to buy were actually neighbors were. But I think at that time we were still pretty much immature, and probably we didn't ask enough good questions, and then I see this morning I was walking into this place, it looked more to me like a missed opportunity, so, but that went. So, but this particular one that we're living in, it was just an opportunity too, but of course we had some kind of money available that we had saved. And then I think I recall that our father in the Lord, not Reverend K now. Pastor Victor, our grandfather.
Oh, Pastor Reverend Adeboye.
Yes, Reverend George had come and he mentioned the fact that, you own your own homes. He made those declarations that year. And we just kind of latched on to that. Then this opportunity showed up. A colleague at work just told me, we had them as a client, but he said, oh, there's this, they have something somewhere, we should look at it and so on. And that's how we just made a down payment for that particular property. It took months and months. It was like a rent-to-own scheme that, of course, my mind couldn't comprehend it because it didn't make sense to my mind. I didn't know how they were going to make their money, but somehow God just presented us with the opportunity. And then we made the payment and it lingered, but eventually we got delivery of the house, and that's how we got to where we are. So it was like a rent-to-own scheme. It was, the arrangement at that time was, and they were like the first to come to the market, or maybe really the first to come to the market. And it was more like, instead of paying rent to your landlord, you can keep paying these rentals, something that is close to what you can really afford or ordinarily, and then you continue to pay for the next 20 years. And then the property is yours, and that's how we got where we are at today. So without debt, in quotes, of having to finance interest payments.
Wow. All right, fantastic. I mean, there were two things you said. You talked about asking the right questions, and you talked about rent to own. So I'm still going to come back to rent to own, but let's talk about asking the right questions first of all. So I'd like to come to you, Dikini Romini. What are the right questions people need to ask when they want to invest in real estate? And when I mean invest, it could be anything from purchasing a land to buying a house. What do you think are the right questions you need to ask? What do you think are the documents that are important for you to to review? And can you just give us a little bit of light in that area?
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to property, they say it, and it's a very valid point, that real estate is one of the realest investment you can ever have. It's a fact. It doesn't depreciate. It does sometimes, but if you're able to wait over a period of time, you get back your money. But the fact is this: real estate is very regulated in some other developed world. But of course, Nigeria, we're still getting to the point where we have everything documented and very well standard and regulated. But as we stand now, there are so many people out there willing to prey on people when it comes to investment. So when it comes to real estate, either land acquisition, property acquisition, construction, and whatsoever, the first is, do not allow sentiment. Whether it is your brother, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, do not allow sentiment. I'll give you a very valid example. A friend of mine called me because his uncle came back from America and he wanted to buy a property. There is this common belief that when you buy in a very fully serviced estate, you're very safe, it's secured, and they've done all the documentation. But of course, sometimes you might be wrong. Now, he called me to ask for my opinion about, okay, my uncle is trying to buy a property in this particular estate, and a very big estate for that matter, very fully developed with all services. Now, what's your opinion? I told him that, see, red flag on that thing. He told me, no, it's the owner of the property happened to be his childhood friend, and they've grown together, the wife and so, they knew each other. They spoke before he even came to Nigeria for the particular deal. I told him, you know what, I will not argue. But of course, don't tell me that I did not tell you. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to tell you, I will send you somebody's number. Speak with the person. Do a detailed search on that, legal search on that property, and get back to me. The next day, he called me to say, see, I bless you for everything. Because, of course, that property is actually having problem. The whole estate is having serious issue. Not only that property. And of course, I'm talking of something way beyond 50 million naira property. So now, it's actually damaged the relationship between the buyer, the person trying to buy, and the friend, childhood friend. And that happens a lot of time. So when it comes to property, the first thing is take out sentiment, even if it's your brother. When people want to sell property to you, they tell you what you need to hear as a marketer. They tell you what you need to hear. They don't tell you details. Now, when it now comes to that, after you take out sentiment, the next thing is you get what document does it have? The first is if a land does not have document with the government, it's not a property. I can give you another example for that. We've had a property where somebody said, okay, you know what, we're selling this property. Somebody found it and told me that, okay, you know what, I want to buy this thing. What do you think? And I told them to search it. They did all the search and everything. And it came back good. Now, the person selling called me back and said, see, I'm taking 5% of this deal. And so. You, what are you going to take? I told him, no, you know what, give me a second. So I now call back. Go and do thorough search when it comes to this, and this. And we realized that that thing was actually doubly documented. I mean that particular land has 2 different CFO, of which one was registered in 1989, the other one in 1997. And when you come to that, it means that the document of 1997 is a lot more valid. And where does the problem come? You will buy the land, but of course, you will not be able to register any drawing, and you can't develop on it. Another thing that happens is this. When they tell you we have documents, the first is the CFO, the second is the survey plan. And when you get survey plan, be very sure to know what you're looking out for. There is what we call provisional survey plan, and there is the registered survey that has red copy at the Surveyor General's office. Now, until you confirm that that thing is properly documented, please do not go for it. And when you're trying to get that it is documented, another thing to confirm is this. Be very sure you engage a surveyor to chart that particular survey plan. Because some things happen, and I can give you a live example of that as well. They can tell you, take you to a particular land, give you the survey plan, and not a survey plan, and tell you this is where your land is, whereas that land is around that place. But they don't want to tell you it is there, because that place is actually waterlogged. This is a firm soil. That is where the survey plan is pointing, but it is waterlogged. But they want to make you to buy it. It has happened to somebody I know that eventually, when he was going to start the project, he told them, wow, they charted this thing and they realized it was there. They told him that, you know what we can do to you is just that. We have hectares of land in Ikorodu. We're going to give you 1 hectare in place of a land in Aja.
Wow.
Yes, they do a lot of that. Then apart from that, I've seen where they will tell you that you can start construction. You would go and you would document. You will start project on that land. At the end of the day, the owner of the land will come to you and say, Mr. Man, what are you doing on my land? So it happens. So the first is, if you have a CFO, check and be very sure it's valid. And be very sure it's in the name of that person. The second is get a surveyor to confirm the survey plan.
Okay, wait, before you
and
go
be
to
very sure it's registered.
Sorry, before you go to the third, if you're just joining us, this is Let's Talk Real Estate. It's the segment where we discuss everything about real estate, how you can start investing in real estate, how you can own a home, and how you can fulfill your promise in the scripture that says you are going to own lands and all of that. So thank you for joining, and I'm going to go back to Mr. Eromini to continue our conversation.
Okay.
We're talking about the document. You said the second one. And
the first is the CFO.
Right.
The second is the survey plan, of which each of the documents, you must be very sure you do a search to be sure they are actually valid and they actually belong to the person trying to sell the land to you.
Okay, Leon, let me ask you a question. How do we do a search? Because from everything you said, something has been coming to me over and over again. That's verification.
Verification.
I know this is where a lot of people may be lost. I want to buy a land. How do I do a search? What should I do? Who should I contact? And what are the costs that comes with it? That will give me some sort of confidence that what I want to invest in is right. Can you take it up?
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Foster, for that. Now, investigating a particular property or land doesn't come at a free cost. You have to part with something. Unfortunately, sometimes you get into a situation whereby you pay for one, you realize it's bad. You pay for the next one, you realize it's bad. You pay for the third one, you realize it's bad. But of course, you are safer spending some amount, 100,000 and thereabout, to do search, and you're safe than losing a whole 50 million. Let me give an example. Somebody approached me for a particular property. I think about 30 plots or something like that. So, and told me that, see, I have somebody, which is why I said sentiment is not acceptable when it comes to property investment. Now, that my uncle owns this and like that, so he has all the documents in his name and he wants to sell, that I think you could help me to push it. I said, okay, you know what? I don't on my own go out to sell land. But of course, if I know the owner of the land, because I don't want to continue doing search, you come to me, I see all the land, I do search, I search, you would ruin yourself. Yeah. So I said, see, if I see trusted people, you approach me with your property and I know you have integrity, I am going to accept your document and I'm going to do my verification, after which I can now proceed to market the property. Now, got so good, I took the documents, he showed me the land, this is where it is from so pole to the other pole and things like that. So I said, okay, you know what, that's fine. Unfortunately, the person trying to push it also did not trusted the person so much that he could vouch for the person. So unfortunately, when I got there, the first line of action they got, because I did also legal search, I realized that that particular land falls within an expanse of land of over 32 hectares, which belongs to a company, but the company was actually owing a bank. They were owing a bank, and that property happens to be the collateral. Now, you're telling me you want to do this. They've approached the courts, they won the case, and a particular company that usually take over properties, that buy bad debts, they've taken over. Amcon have taken over already. So you're pushing to me a liability. So I told the person, I called the person, come, let's have a conversation. I saw a pointer around this thing and it falls within this particular thing. We've chatted already, we've seen the location. It wasn't the exact spot the person pointed. It's still within the 32 hectares. So I now said, are you saying this thing is still valid? He said, yes, of course. Something. We had a meeting. So I went back, we continued. So I now confronted him that, Mr. Man, why are you wasting my money? Why are you wasting my money? He now said something. Who can say that this thing is genuine, that thing is genuine, that thing is genuine? The next morning, the brother called me to tell me that he called him to say he found somebody who wanted to buy it before the person has paid. What happens between 10 o'clock at night and 12 p.m. the next morning? Wow. So you can actually see the red pointer. So when you want to do a search, when you want to verify, you can contact professionals in the industry, and you can at the same time go directly to the Surveyor General's office or to Alausa. Yes, when you want to do that yourself. You can actually approach them. Of course, let me say this, it doesn't come free. You are going to have to pay for it.
What about the legal search? You said there's a legal search.
The legal search, you can engage a lawyer to do a legal search for you, so that you don't buy a property that has litigation on it. So because there are different properties, people are exposed to different liabilities, but they transfer that. If you are not aware, you're going to buy it and you're going to run into trouble.
All right. Now, let me come to Pastor Bolanle. Do you have something to add to that
I have
immediately?
something to add to that.
Add a little bit.
So haven't gone to the lands, or you've gone to the Surveyor General's office. It's also very important that you ask for what we call CTC, Certified True Copy. What does that do for you? The Certified True Copy will give you the genealogy, the history of what has happened as regards to either the house or the landed property you're trying to buy. Another thing I would like to add there is that it's important that there is this scenario where people say, I've been given the survey, I've been given the CFO or the governor's consent, that I'm good to go. You are not good to go. Really? Because just the way he said it, you must chat. Chatting means, even though I've been given a survey on my hand and I can see the location, I can see the name of the person, when the surveyor comes to the ground, it's going to take what we call, they're going to use their GPS, and they're going to get the direction, the northings, we call it the northings and the easting of that particular land. Then you can compare it to the survey. As soon as you see there is a discrepancy there, you don't even need to go to Alausa in that regard anymore. Why? You've known that there is mismatch already. So it's very important that documentation, you don't allow people to tell you, I have done the search, I have everything, until you see a CTC, Certified True Copy, stamped by Alausa, then you can't say you are assured that the property is okay.
Wow, all right. So thank you for adding that CTC part. I think that's very good. You can see the history of what you want to buy, and then thank you for adding the mapping too. So you go to map what you have so that you can be sure what what you have on the map is the same thing you have on the ground. But the time you wanted to add something.
Yeah, just so that we don't lose that information. He mentioned it already about the issue of verification. That you've done the first one, you've done the second one, just do it every time. So that it's not the one you refuse to do that then gets one's fingers burnt. I think it's just
all right. So
important.
now, let me just move to you, Pastor Balanle. So how can someone start investing in real estate with the smallest amount if possible? I mean, let's say I have 100,000 or 200,000 or 500,000. Let's be real here. Okay. Let's say it's 30,000 I have. Okay. What do you think? How do you think I can approach
Thank you so much, Foster, for that question. So the word real estate is actually very big. So when we talk about real estate, we're talking about you either investing in landed property or you're investing in houses, okay? So you're going to have to ask yourself, this is the kind of amount I have. Do I want to buy land or am I trying to own a home for myself? So I'm going to give you an example. There are a lot of people that look at investing in houses as a big deal. They really don't know where to start from. For me, the kind of advice I give to such kind of people is, if you know the amount you have in your hand is so small, why don't you start cultivating the act of investing by buying landed property from the scratch? So, and this is what I mean. We have real estate companies that have landed properties available. And about 10, 20 years ago, you won't hear what we call instrumental payments. But right now, there are instrumental payments available. What does that tell you? That tells you that if a property is going for 1 million naira right now or is going for 2 million right now, the company already has what we call a payment plan available. The scenario where people will say, let me go and be saving it in the bank when it becomes 500,000. By the time your money becomes 500,000 naira, you probably, by the time you come back, the price would have changed. So what I advise my first-time investors is that look for a reputable real estate company that has landed property, look at what they have available, the cost, and see how you can have 18-month plan, 12-month plan, 24-month plan. For a property going for 1.5 million naira, the company can say, okay, maybe start with 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira, and spread it for 18 months. Let me give you an example. I had a particular guy about 6 months ago, very young. I guess he just left his job, but now he wants to move into another job. But he already knows how much he's going to be earning from that job, maybe about 80,000 naira, because I make sure I sit people down to really analyze what's your income like, what can you put aside. So he said, okay, I can put aside 50,000 naira or 60,000 naira per month. I said, okay, if that is what you can do, you're going to do a 1-year plan. The property was going for about 1 million naira. And I said, okay, start with where you are. Begin to put aside, start with something like 100,000, 150,000, because he has put nothing less than about 3 months savings aside. I said, start with that. But never say you want to wait until money is already 400,000. And he started. Can I challenge you that there is something about you starting a real estate investment? As soon as you start, your way of life will change. And that means the way you spend, you begin to see 100 naira, 1,000 naira as very important because you have a target and you have a place where you're going to. So at the end of the day, it's easier for you to curtail with whatever you're trying to do. For people that want to invest in houses, there's this greatest option that Pastor Tafi has also mentioned, and that is what we call rent to own. The scenario says, why pay rent when you can actually put 1 or 2 or 3 years of the rent together and begin to pay for your house? This is what you need to do. The rent to own scheme simply says is an opportunity for you to be able to put together an equity contribution, say 2 million naira. Like a 2-bedroom flat, somewhere in Lekki going for 25 million naira or 32 million naira. The scheme simply says, with the 1 million naira you already have with you, or with the 2 million naira you already have it, come and drop it as a first equity contribution. And the scheme says, we only need you to put together about 30% of the amount of the value of the house. So all you need to put together as equity contribution at the long run within 1 year will probably be about 10 million naira, 9 million naira. And the scheme says, haven't put together your equity contribution. As soon as the house is ready, which is what Pastor Safi actually did, as soon as the house is ready, you can move in. Don't forget, you only paid 9 million naira. You moved in. As soon as you move in, the remaining balance can now be paid over a period of 20 years. I had a client, this example I just want to give you. I had a client that wanted to invest in real estate. And the investment he wanted to do, it's about 40 million naira. 40 million naira can buy him a 4 semi-detached duplex. What did this customer do? He looked at the investment for the rent to own, and he split the money into 4. Paid for 4 units with 10 million naira. Then he can either sell 1 or 2 to pay off the balance of the others, or leave it till the house is ready, rent 1 or 2, do short let with 1. The money he's making from there, he will use it to offset the other. And that's exactly what rent to own does for you. It gives you the opportunity to begin to live in a home that you can eventually call your own. So you don't need to wait until when you have the big money to invest into real estate or to own your first home.
Fantastic. In fact, you were right on point, because that was the last question I wanted to ask. That I know people that do not necessarily have the total money for what the investment they want to invest in, and they actually went ahead to do that. I had a client at the time that has a house on Banana Island Road. Now, this is a big person, though the capacity determines. So I don't, but did not pay anything for that house. And what they did, and is the question I want to put across to you. I know some people do those kind of things. Sometimes people are fortunate to have a land somewhere. They've split it into 2. They approach a developer and say, build this one for me, I take for free. I give you part of this land, you build and take away. So those are the kind of things he did. I think he brought up a plan for a big place, developed the whole place, like what you're saying now. Instead of having 1 unit, he had multiple units. So that I can enter one. The one is entry is the profit, and sold the rest and paid back to the bank. You know what I'm saying? So what are the things we need to consider? To wrap up this segment, what do you think? Should we construct from scratch? Should we buy? What are your thoughts in that area?
Advice. Okay, thank you for the question. Now, if you ask me whether to buy or to build, I will tell you to build. And I'm going to tell you the reason. The reason being that you spend less when you build yourself. But of course, there are so many risks attached to it, of which, if you do the right thing, you actually can be able to mitigate those risks. That's the truth. Because when it comes to construction costs and the cost of purchase of properties, you most likely, on most occasions, will save minimum of up to 30% and above when you construct yourself. But now, what to consider when you want to construct is this. You only would construct when you have all the funds together with you. In a situation whereby you have a little amount that could only be enough to purchase a plot of land, you cannot say that you would use the money to start building. Because one thing that happens is, if you are building, you must be able to face it head on. Yeah. If you're building and you're stopping, you spend more as well. So it's important to know that if you have your funds together, the wisest thing to do is to build straight. Now, if you are a landowner and you don't have the capacity to build as at that time, there is another wisdom around, especially when you have the land that is able to do more than 1 unit of house. So there is still what we call the joint venture, which is a very smart decision to say. I can show you a couple of those things that is going on presently. A lot of building you see, especially the high-rise and in prime locations, you would realize that they are actually a product of joint venture. For instance, for the simple, or let me say somebody that is just trying to get the first house, if you're able to afford just a plot of land, you have the opportunity to approach somebody, an investor or a property developer, and say that, see, I have a land, but I don't have money for construction. Can you build? We share. Now, they can now analyze the possibilities around the land. They place value on those things. They try to see, okay, based on this land, what's the value of the land? how much am I required to bring in as an investment? So if I place it side by side, what percentage will the cost of your land be beside the amount I'm investing? So let's assume it comes to about 40% to 60%. Now, on a plot of land, can I have 3 units of terrace on that land? Because you have 30%, I have 60. I have that's about 70.
Yes.
So that I will give you 1 unit, and I can take 2 units. That way, you win, I win. You can move into your home, I can sell my home, and or I can rent it out, or I can choose to live inside.
Wow.
So that option is there. The other thing people do is to approach banks, especially mortgage banks or investment houses. You go there, you tell them that, see, I have a land, I don't have money, everything to finish it. Sometimes if you have a steady income, either as an entrepreneur or you are, employed, they check your income, the cash flow, to see if it can accommodate a particular cost. They require for a particular equity contribution. Yeah. Sometimes people do something. Another wisdom is this. You can have a land, have some amount to build on it to a particular point, but you can't finish it. That way, they can also come on board and say that, go and find the people that would buy. We're going to sponsor till the end of the construction. After which, you sell, each person will part, and you go with your this thing. But one thing is important. If you're coming into the industry, one thing is extremely key. The first thing you need to do is education. You don't come on board. You can spend 10 million on this chair, and at the same time spend 15 million on this chair, going through different routes. You can do 2 different things. Now, when it comes to profiting in real estate, it requires that you are aware. You are detailed about it. Of course, you can't be trained in every other thing. I first did building, but I picked up architecture because I wanted to be able to capture end-to-end of building construction. So now, if I'm trying to advise, or you approach me with a land, I would plan how many units can come on it. Another thing to consider is this. The location of the land, will it be worth the value? If you have a land in Lekki Phase 1 or Oniru or Ikoyi, and you're putting just a unit of building there, when it's not Abuja, because Abuja regulation is different from Lagos regulation. And that is because of the fact that Lagos has the least volume of land in the whole of Nigeria. And at the same time, the business hub of Nigeria. So you can now look at that. Now, there is a serious pressure and there is housing deficit. So to a very large extent, when people say Lagos houses are overpriced, they are right because, of course, even it's more expensive than Abuja. But the fact is this, you want to do business, you want to be close to your office, at the same time, you still want the house to be cheap. It can't be. Because you have...
All those factors
it's the law of force and
demand and supply. What people are demanding.
And what is available.
All right. So you use the word wisdom, and I know that that's what we've done on this show. We've given insights, tips, and wisdom. And we may not be able to share everything today. So we're going to come back, I believe, to do much more justice to this segment, to talk more. And I believe whatever you've heard today, you can run with it. So till next time on this show, this is Let's Talk Real Estate. We'll see you next time.